All right, back to our top story now. New questions about how to deal with Iran after the rogue regime responds to oil sanctions by launching new war games and test-firing missiles it says can reach U.S. targets. There are many questions on whether the sanctions imposed will even work. General Jack Keane is the former Vice Chief of Staff for the U.S. Army and a Fox News contributor. General, always great to see you.
Great to see you, Greg.
These latest sanctions have kicked in, but apparently they have been gutted already by the Obama administration. Here's how the Wall Street Journal describes it in an editorial, quote, "The Iran sanctions regime is looking like a U.S. tax code filled with loopholes. It's so weak, in fact, that all 20 of Iran's major trading partners are now exempt from them. We've arrived at a kind of voodoo version of sanctions, and in fact, General, India, China, Japan, they can all buy Iranian oil. Are these sanctions in name only, and in truth, they're feckless?"
Well, those sanctions are certainly driven by the lobbying the administration did in imposing that legislation so that you could get out of it as long as you reduced a certain amount of trading with the Iranians. So some have reduced 11%, 15, 20%, and therefore they're exempt from the oil embargo. So it's a feckless economic sanction, to be sure, as you stated. Listen, what we have to recognize is that the Iranians fully intend to get a nuclear weapon because it guarantees regime survival and it helps them to achieve regional hegemony by exporting the Islamic Revolution.
Right.
And if that is true, and I believe all of our leaders know that to be true, then it's unlikely that economic sanctions, other than economically collapsing Iran, would bring them to the table so that they would give up their weapons. So what you have to have on a table, clearly, if you want to stop them from having a nuclear capability, is a credible military option that they believe you will use.
Well, the New York Times appears to be the beneficiary of another administration leak. This time our military forces are quietly moving significant forces into the Persian Gulf. Do you begin to wonder about the motivation of these leaks, General?
Well, I don't know what the motivations of the leaks are, certainly, and the intelligence leaks that we had were absolutely horrific and unprecedented in my lifetime. But certainly it's prudent. What the commander in Central Command is doing is to move his forces into that area to let the Iranians know that they fully intend to protect the Straits of Hormuz, and if they tried any shenanigans with attempting to close it, we would reopen it. And of course, closing the Straits of Hormuz in of itself, in my judgment, is an act of war, and that's a big step for the Iranians to take.
As you well know, the Revolutionary Guard test-fired some ballistic missiles yesterday, including a long-range variety that could hit U.S. bases in the region, not to mention Israel. What's your takeaway from their move?
I think it's mostly saber-rattling. They're reminding us just before they enter diplomatic negotiations again with the five powers plus one, that they have a military capability, that they fully intend to use it if anybody attacked them. And that capability they have is certainly real. And obviously that is why the nuclear weapon is such a threat to the region, because they can put a nuclear weapon on top of that missile capability that they already have.
President Obama has touted diplomacy as a way to deter Iran's suspected nuclear weapon program. There were talks yesterday, as you know, in Istanbul. They went nowhere. No surprise, right?
Well, this is the Iranian ploy for 20 years now. They're willing to talk, and it permits them to advance the program. The other thing is that they've watched the North Koreans and the United States plus other countries negotiate into a nuclear weapon capability in North Korea, and they're taking a page out of that chapter. We have to have both feet on the ground here. The Iranians are not going to diplomatically give up this pursuit of a nuclear weapon. They may delay it and make a small concession, which would be delusionary on our part, I think, to accept it.
Okay. General Jack Keane, thank you so much. Good to see you.
You're welcome, Greg. Good seeing you.